My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, my suspicions were extremely correct here. Something is definitely going on. I don't know why the stream just dropped out. That shouldn't have happened. Hopefully, we're back on your screens here shortly, and we can go without issue here because let's go. Oh boy. Why my computer is acting like this today. Alright, I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. No idea what happened there. My software had an error and just automatically closed. I didn't even get an option to recover it. Nothing. It just shut it down. So hopefully we don't have that happen again. My hands are tied on this. We've been having technical difficulties on my end all day long. Don't know why. We've spent the week leading up into the weekend basically running a straight hard maintenance regimen to all of the streaming equipment and everything surrounding the page here because obviously regular content's commencing back on my own page here as we come back into next week. So I've been preparing my computer and everything and all the equipment for, you know, the heavy streaming grind again. A little bit disconcerting on my end as far as I'm concerned with what's happening here today. We have not had one of our stints really go smoothly and cleanly on the technical end of things, so I apologize to our viewers. You guys and gals are really the most awesome, patient viewers I've seen, so we are definitely plagued with some issues here. Just hopefully we can get through the remainder of the stream without any more issues would be good. Energy drink? My computer needs an energy drink. I don't know what's happening here today. Just cursed with a very unhappy computer apparently. Alright, I think I'm satisfied enough that we're holding, at least at this point. So BX Royal here for the number 11 Platypus Racing BMW. I know what I'm telling you is going to counteract what you're seeing in some of the cases here on the stream, but we're not seeing the actual car numbers of some of our racers with their actual liveries on the race cars are just not showing up properly. So thankfully, we've got a good memory and we know who is who without seeing the paint on the cars, which is good. So Wid C here in the 764 car had was it 47 seconds ahead or a gap on the number 45 Last Minute Racing GTR. Now that gap's down to 36.9. So there's definitely an opportunity here for the 45 car and potentially at the current pace rate to try and close in on Wid C here, I think. Last Minute Racing 45 GTR here being piloted by Betty. Closing in quickly, Mr. SBS is now about 9 seconds in behind the 45 car. So Loose Moose Racing, Aston Martin here is sitting in 7th place right now on the racetrack, the top half of the field, and has 32 seconds to the good over the number 3 Grid Life Lexus here, driven currently by IRO Split. There is 19 seconds between Jakey and the Shadow from GT Finland Racing 66 GTR here, and then a little bit of a gap to the number 5 camp, and it's about 4 minutes, so about a lap separating 10th and 11th, 10th and 9th place, pardon me, here currently. So unfortunate here for the number 5 crew today. They have had an absolutely very rough start to the race. They've had a absolutely massive fight back through the middle and latter part of the race, and then had another malfunction with the car, which set them back significantly with 6-7 hours remaining. And appears that, well, obviously with the clock dwindling less than 2 hours to go, at this point 10th place may be the best they can get here today now, and not the ideal result, obviously, that they're probably looking for coming into the race here today. But with that being said, they are championship points leaders for a reason, and they may still be in a championship points lead even with a 10th place finish here today, but not what they were looking for sure, and going to make that securing that championship, so to speak, a lot more difficult than it was leading into the 24 hours of Le Mans. So it's going to be a huge standing shakeup between first and second place, especially in the point standings. But with that being said, Grid Life also has a couple of spots in hand on the number 5 Lexus here, which means they are also going to be gaining points on that number 5 car. However, they are separated from between themselves and the ERA camp, the 44 car here, and Grid Life obviously sitting third in points in behind that number 44 car, who is currently leading the race here. And there is a few positions between the 44 and the 3 car here currently on the racetrack. So right now, the way things are sitting, the 44 camp is definitely in a great position right now as this race sits here today, leading into our 24 hours. So, we got what I suspected I was just about to see there. We have lost our number 20 Aston Martin here. So race is finished for that number 20 car here for the day. They will not see that car return back out on track, and that was a disconnect from that final podium position right there. So what will happen there, ladies and gentlemen, is the officials have a formula that they use, and it is per mile formula of mile distance remaining in the race or stint. So in this case here, there is a 22 lap remaining in the stint for those drivers, which means they're going to take those 22 laps at the miles per lap multiplied by the number in the formula, and that will calculate how many seconds behind the race leader at time of disconnect that they would essentially normally come out if there was another stint, but in this case will just be added to their overall race and finish time, and that will place them where it places them in the overall standings here in the grid. So they did disconnect from P3 there, and by the end of the day, that will most likely drop them down probably somewhere around 6th, 7th place maybe. It's definitely going to be at least a 2 to 3 minute hit on finish time, I would say, roughly off the top of my head here. So going to firmly take that number 20 camp out of the podium here today, which is absolutely a devastating result here, as they had a very strong drive and definitely most certainly deserved to be fighting for that 3rd place position here at the end of the day. So we're definitely gutted for that number 20 camp here right now, Project 1 Racing Aston Martin, but it does not change the fact that they had an absolutely amazing day on track here today. The chat says that the current standing of this race, if it were to finish exactly as it sits right now, it looks like IRO would have roughly a 4 points lead in the championship point standings. So that wouldn't surprise me. There is a pretty good difference between first and 10th place here. That's a big point spread as well. Yes, you can see BX absolutely are now currently sitting in third place here. So Project Platypus Racing is a benefactor right there of that unfortunate disconnect there from the number 20 Aston Martin, and that actually puts the number 11 Project Platypus BMW into that final podium position here in third place. So 2.5 minutes to second place and 55 seconds to the good over the 764 Sector 7 Aston Martin chasing behind. So that is comforting, knowing that you've got a minute gap with 80 minutes of the race remaining, give or take. However, knowing obviously the drivers that are in behind trying to close that gap can be a little bit disconcerting. But yeah, he's about a minute and a half to the good right now to the 45 car that is trying to chase downwind here in the Aston Martin. So 33 seconds now is that gap between the 45 and the 764 car. So definitely delving into that 40 plus second gap there that we've seen after the positional change between the 45 and the 35 cars here a little while ago. So Mehdi Hafidi here in the last minute racing camp is definitely tracking, but it's a tall order here for him to hit for him to see a podium position by the end of the day here. I mean, he's going to pick up about 85 seconds to be in a position just to fight for that third place, and he's got about 80 minutes to do it. So is it impossible? Not impossible, not by any means. Anything can happen. It's racing, but even a tall order for a driver the caliber behind the wheel of this 45 car here currently, especially with the field of drivers on track with him as well. Right, 34 seconds to Mr. SBS in front of the number 3 car, 17 seconds in behind to the 66 car chasing. We've got the number 5 car basically closing in on the 66 car here, but all this is going to be doing for the number 5 car is you cannot take away the absolute amazing comeback drive that we're on in the the latter part of this race until the secondary issue really kind of hampered their charge back. Evil's doing a good job of managing the gap. The gap has remained right around that 22 to 23 second mark since the driver swaps have transitioned into our finale stint here. ORT and Azorian. Number one Dodge Viper here have done a good job of doing much of the same thing. They're pacing Evo up in the lead there in the 44 car, but also pacing a third place car in behind as well. So I mean that gap hasn't really changed between second and third place too much. I would say the third place has gained a little bit on second place, obviously due to the circumstances of losing the number 20 car here with 80 minutes to go. So that tells me that the fourth place car was closing in on the second place to some extent or another, and now being basically what that gap was between the original third place and number one team is what the gap is now between the new third place and the number one team, essentially. So a little bit of time being gained from the third place car here, Royal behind the wheel right now. With that being said, Witt is basically just pacing the Sector 7 Aston Martin's just pacing the Project Platypus BMW here currently, and then our number 45 car piloted by Medi here is closing in on Witt, but not in big leaps and bounds and chunks where we can expect to see that 45 car close in on the backside of Witt in the next four or five corners or 4 or 5 laps even. This is something that is going to happen. It's going to be towards near the end of the stint, barring any major mistakes on the part of Witt up in front. So it's not going to be an easy drive to try and get that position for the 45 cam, but challenge accepted, obviously, and they are most certainly going to throw everything they have at it. Mr. SBS here in 6th place now for the 35 Loose Moose Racing team here, 4.5 minutes in behind the overall race leader, and 35 seconds to get to the Grid Life car chasing in 7th place in behind. So 13.2 seconds to... Yeah, I know, right? That's it's tough to see. Hey, Petrol, I feel it. Jake in the number 3 Grid Life car here, 17 seconds ahead of the 66 GTR of the GT Flint Racing team, and 35 seconds in behind that number 35 Loose Moose Racing Aston Martin. I apologize, it's 5:30 in the morning here, so we're still somewhat waking up. Our body is waking up anyways. The body is like it's Sunday morning and it's 5:30. Why are you awake? But you know, we're powering through that. Alright, Bruce Ted here for the 69 camp of Apex Hunter Racing, sitting 55 seconds behind the number 5 camp here in 9th place. I think we skipped the number 5 car here, our current championship points leader. That is potentially going to change at the end of our proceedings here today, but we'll have to wait and see how all that shakes out. There's stewarding, there's potential incidents, there's potential penalties, and etc that happen on. But unofficially right now, the 44 car doing everything they need to do here coming into Le Mans to put themselves back in the immediate conversation for a championship discussion. So the number 5's misfortunes here at our 24 hours of Le Mans today have been of major benefit to that 44 car, who's currently leading the race. But with that being said, we have seen the 44 car have their issues here today as well. So it's not like they've been squeaky clean free from trouble here at Le Mans themselves. They have definitely not been squeaky clean free from all the drama here at Le Mans themselves, but have just suffered the weight of what Le Mans can offer, significantly less than the number 5 car has today, essentially. So with that being said, the results are definitely showing there, as we've got the 44 camp in the race lead and the number 5 camp in 9th place, currently about a lap and a half down due to the unforeseen circumstances here at Le Mans this weekend. I tell you what, Petrol, in Split 2 in the 24 hours of Nürburgring, we were within 65 minutes of race finish. So literally 22 hours and 55 minutes into the 24 hours of Nürburgring race, our final stint driver disconnected as well. So trust me, I fully feel your pain as a racer. My team and obviously the driver that was in the car at the time of the disconnect was absolutely dumbfounded, angry, devastated, frustrated, and all the above. So I feel where you're coming from, my guy. I feel where you're coming from. But remember, it's not all over. It's not like you're just going to get a disqualification and you're going to end up at the back of the pack with no points. I mean, obviously the calculation will take place and you are still going to end up somewhere in the mid-pack. So it's not a full-out loss at least, but a little stab to the old heartstrings for sure. That's the way it goes. It's racing. It's essentially no different than having your engine blow up with 80 minutes left to go. We had a little cluster of cars all together there. That was we've got the number 1 camp making their way around the 64 camp here in a blue flag situation right now. And then who's in behind the 64 car is the 45 car of Medi here closing in. So that's interesting. That means that either the number 1 Viper has just has navigated around 2 blue flag cars, or that the 45 car, oof, a huge slide coming out of the corner there, is trying to get the lap back on the number 1 camp. Here's what it looks like. BX Royal for Project Platypus Racing in 3rd place. I mean, literally in the middle of no man's land right now. Much of the same thing for the number 1 camp as well. And I guess you could kind of say that for the 44 car here, even though that they're not really in quite no man's land. They do have a good, 22-second gap over the 2nd place driver. Wade here is still just a little under a minute away from that podium position, and still seeing that charge of the 45 car continue as they continue up the racetrack here. We're not quite halfway through our stint 12 here yet at this point either, and the gap is already down to under 30 seconds here. So we could potentially see that 45 car catch up to the 764 group here before the end of the race yet today. So there is a potential battle here for 4th place still developing. 16-second gap between the 45 car to 35 car, and we've seen the 45 car just navigate around that 64 car there. So blue flag situation in the form of Medi putting the sector 7 car lap down to their car, and now they're closing in on the 2nd place car, trying to unlap themselves from the 2nd place car here. So I guess that's the next goal here for the 45 car, is to pass the 2nd place driver and get a lap back on that car by making that pass. You can see a good run there from the Mercedes. Sector 7 Mercedes in behind there. It's tucked in nice and tight in behind that GTR there, as that GTR continues to try and close in on the number 1 Dodge Viper from Team ORT there up ahead as well. So we have no immediate battles on the racetrack. It's going to be a little bit of just seeing who's on the ragged edge here in the final stint right now in comparison. Yeah, I mean, DCs need to be banned. If we could only do such a thing. If only. All right, so the number 5 car has passed the 66 car and unlapped themselves from the 66 car here. So within the same lap now of the 66 car is that number 5 car. Oops, I said the 5 car. That's not the 5 car. Game. Thank you. So as we just come out of Indianapolis here, or heading, out of Indianapolis here, you can see the space now between Macho and Shadow is that's a good 4 or 5 seconds. Maybe even 6 at this point. So, just doing everything they can with the remaining amount of time that they have. Try and make up as much time and distance on the racetrack as they can here on the rest of the field at this point. It's been a tough day for them, and they're you can't even call it recovery mode at this point. They're just trying not to at least lose any more positions before the end of the race. The chance of them gaining another position before the end of the race is a pretty tall order with basically an hour remaining before we see a checkered flag. So damage control at this point for the 5 camp, and just trying to get that car home here to the end of the day at this point. Number 1 camp here is 22 seconds. Evo's just controlling the pace right now. He's unable to grow that gap over the number 1 car. However, the number 1 car is not able to shrink that gap at all either. So a 235, 236 gap between the Project Platypus BMW and the number 1 Dodge Viper. That stayed constant all stint long here so far, so they're not really gaining on that first or second place car here in a sense, and they're not allowing the 4th place car to close in any extra time either. So they're in a pretty good position here right now. Can I comfortably say that they've secured 3rd place in this race here today? I can't say that, unfortunately, because there are some drivers here on the track that are closing distances and closing up gaps. So with that being said, even though the WID seems to be maintaining pace, the 764 Aston is maintaining pace with that number 11 BMW sitting up in 3rd place. The 45 car chasing the 764 car is faster than both those cars, meaning that he is gaining on both of those competitors. So we're just not seeing that gain right now because obviously the 45 car is not chasing BX Royal in 3rd place currently. He's chasing WID C in 4th place currently. So we are seeing the continued gains from the 45 car on the 764 car in that sense, but that means he is also gaining on the number 3 car because he is closing in on that number 4 car. Make sure everybody's up in the chat showing the love for our super chatters and our membership gifters and our donators here at the IRO YouTube channel as well. We definitely appreciate everybody that steps in on a higher level of support during these events, and all that just goes to the greater good of what International Racing Organization is doing here. The more resources available to the league, the racers, and the organization, obviously just the more and more that the organization can do as we move forward in the future. So we do appreciate all the extra level support in the form of financial donations and absolute legends, the lot of you, I tell you. So we do have the 45 car now coming into pit lane, and will be the first of our group to make a scheduled pit stop here today. So it is going to start that pit stop sequence. Alright, so Zorian here in 2nd place, looking very strong here as well. Bringing that Dodge Viper home is the plan there, and no less than 2nd place if I had to guess. The final hour has started. could be a close mid-pack finish. It could be. It could very well be, Shadow. I don't disagree with you on that. Once we factor in all those calculations and place the number 20 car back into the grid in a final running order, I think you're very right. I think it's going to be very close in the mid-pack. So I mean, every millisecond counts here. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place here for sure. Alright, so we got Mr. SBS here, the number 35 loose racing car is 46 seconds in behind Wid C here and has now 40 seconds to the good over the 45 car, so getting that position back over the 45 car. However, the 45 car has stopped and made a pit stop where the rest of the field has not done so at this point yet. So 45 car is on a different strategy in comparison to the remainder of the field here on the track. Second penalty being carried there over the number 5 car there, so it's a little cumulative collection of penalties there around the racing lap for the number 5 car there. The 69 BMW here from Apex Hunter Racing comes and in 10th place here and has a good gap in behind the Prima GTR and is about a minute 16 in behind the number 5 car, so sitting in no man's land right now, but in the top 10. Prima GTR for the 64 Sector 7 Mercedes here is about a minute 40 in behind 10th place and has about a lap and a half to get over Slugsy in the final position here on the track. And only 13 teams today for the Le Mans race here. We are missing the McLaren on track here this weekend. And the RA Black 77 car here in 12th position. So 12 cars remain in the 24 hours of Le Mans here. So Alright, so number 3 Grid Life Lexus here was within slipstream range of the 45 car there for a moment. Now just slightly falling out of that slipstream range here at 1.7 seconds, but the 45 car now settling into that new set of racing rubber and starting to definitely move up the racetrack here a little bit as they're now starting to chip away at opening the gap up on the number 3 car in behind. However, keeping in mind that the 45 car has made their scheduled pit stop here in the stint already, so in hand, in a sense, they don't need to worry about that pit stop here now. They don't need to worry about the scheduled pit stop here now anyways. You always have to worry about unnecessary pit stops until you're done racing for the race day, but Macho now coming into pit lane, making a pit stop here as well in 9th place. So the second of our drivers now making a pit stop here. Just having a little splash of coffee there. It was definitely a little bit confusing at the beginning of the season with two teams with LMR as their abbreviations for their team names. It took a hot minute to get it sorted out in the brain here in the booth, that's for sure, this season. So got last minute racing and then loose moose racing. Can be a little bit of a mind cluster, that's for sure. Not a lot changing in the majority of the gaps on the racetrack. Everything's staying pretty constant. The only cars that seem to be really gaining any steam on the track right now are the 45 car and the number 5 car. But just as I say that, we see the Grid Life number 3 car now move up into 6th position here, and the 45 car drop down to 7th position here, so a mistake made from the 45 crew here somewhere along the way, and Jakey now 3.5 seconds ahead of the 45 car up into 6th position here. So not sure exactly what happened there, but it was about a 5-second mistake on the part of the 45 car there, so interesting. Alright, so with that pit stop made by the number 5 car, that has placed them back essentially a lap down to the 66 car here. I was just getting a reference point, which is why I was jumping back and forth between the two cars there temporarily. I was just getting a little bit of a gauge at where the 5 had come out after their pit stop. So now with that being said, the 5 car has done much of the same thing that the 45 car has done. They've eliminated that scheduled pit stop very early on in the race here, and now just should be able to take these cars right down to the checkered flag at this point. So it'd be interesting to see if the 5 camp can gain any more position on the racetrack. However, with that being said, though, they got to get about a 4-minute gain in order to make that position happen. So had a slight wheel disconnection is what I'm hearing from the 45 camp. So that would explain the few seconds of time loss that we missed on the racetrack there. So not necessarily a mistake, but a mechanical issue that the driver had to deal with on the fly while under speed. So tense moments here for some of these racers still in Le Mans here with less than an hour to go at this point. Morning. Hope everybody's doing good. Half-second track limit there for our race leaders in the 44 camp. They are closing in on that Sector 7 Aston Martin in 4th place, which means they are looking to put 4th place a official lap down before the end of this race. And I'm thinking that that's something the 764 car is going to try and avoid here before the end of the race, but Evo is coming. But half-second track limit penalty there, so that'll slow that lap down attempt a little tiny bit for the moment anyways here, as he's going to have to serve that penalty as he comes across our penalty serving zone here. It will roughly cost him about a second on that charge to lapping the 4th place 764 car. So our number 1 Dodge Viper, our defending champions from 2024, has 22 seconds in behind the race leader and a ton of time to the final podium position there. So the concern is not what's going on behind them, but more so what's going on in front of them in this case. Be PP's BX Royal here was in 4th place, but with that unfortunate disconnect from the Project 1 Racing Aston Martin, they basically grandfathered up into 3rd place there. And but before that point, I think it was about 18-second gap between 3rd and 4th place. I mean, it was he was in the discussion to close up and potentially battle for that position either way, but instead was given a due to mechanical failure and the 20 car having to retire the car before the end of the race, essentially. But that doesn't mean that they're down and out. That doesn't mean that they're going to get no points after all that many hours put in racing. It just means that there's a calculation that comes into play. They're going to get X amount of seconds added to their overall race finish time at the point of the disconnect, plus the gap to the leader at the time of point of disconnect, and they will be placed into the grid based off of their finishing order running time. So that should place them somewhere 5th, 6th, 7th place, I would figure, at the gaps that we've seen at point of disconnect. So it's going to be a hit. It's going to be a 2 or 3 minute overall added time penalty to race finish, but because we're seeing large gaps in between the drivers, especially from front pack to mid pack, I suspect that is going to be smaller than they probably think. They're going to lose a couple positions at most, I think, all said and done there, but we'll have to wait and see how that all washes out in the end once the results obviously turn official. Again, all it is speculation on my part without having the actual official information and the exact numbers in front of me. Again, I'm just giving a rough estimation where we could probably expect to see the number 20 car end up here today in the final tally, I guess. So we are seeing the 45 car close up on the number 3 Grid Life car here, so we'll sit with this because, well, we don't have a whole lot of close quarters action happening here in this final stint. So this is a positional battle, so it is something to sit on and watch for a moment. Alright, 45 car tucking in real tight here, using all that slipstream up the straight here. Probably going to see the pull here for the move before the end of the straight here. If he's going to do it, he's definitely going to make it now. No, he's just going to give a push here actually to the number 3 car as they head in towards braking zone. So the 764, the 64 car now, a blue flag car in front of this positional battle here right now as well. So a little extra cog in the wheel of the battle in a sense here happening up in front, but I suspect that car is not going to get too overly involved with what's happening in behind him here for 6th and 7th place. I suspect that when the opportunity is the proper opportunity and right, he will just absolutely get the heck out of the way of these guys here. But all 3 cars now very, very close together, are basically nose to tail at this point, and we'll probably see that 3 and 45 car be looking to get around the 64 car here up on the straight before the end of this little opportunity they have here to get around this 64 Mercedes. So and the 45 and 3 has navigated around the 64 car here now, and now the 45 car are going to take a look at that number 3 Grid Life Lexus here, side-by-side racing action here for 6th place Win C coming into pit lane for a scheduled pit stop here. And Betty on the inside here as we head midway through the Indianapolis sector here, and does get the job done. So does make the pass there on that number 3 Grid Life car, and that was a good sizable little healthy battle there. They sized each other up there for a moment and had a nice little side-by-side run through Indy. the stream showing Slugsy only. No, because then we'll miss battles if they're happening on the racetrack. We can't miss battles. We can definitely show Slugsy some more, but can't miss the battles. The number 1 Dodge Viper is now in to pit lane for a scheduled pit stop. We got the Grid Life car coming into pit lane for a scheduled pit stop here. 66 cars also coming in to pit lane for a scheduled pit stop here as well. I figured maybe there was going to be a position gain there. So that leaves Macho Monkey here. Now this is a 4-minute gap between themselves and the 66 car a little while back, so they're not going to gain a position here, and they are making a pit stop, so that surprises me. I figured the first earlier stop was a scheduled pit stop by the team there, but that may have been a unscheduled pit stop by the 5 camp there, and now it seems like they're making their scheduled pit stop here. So there may have been a damage repair or something that had happened in that first pit stop 2 or 3 laps ago there from the number 5 car, and we just didn't catch the fact that there was something wrong with that racing car. So I did suspect that was a scheduled pit stop, but in reality it was an unscheduled pit stop the first time around for the number 5 car. So now the pit stop that they've made is, yeah, I know, right? We're going to take the chance and not charge the controller, because what will happen is if I have to plug the controller in while live streaming, you guys are going to hear a pretty large amount of white noise in the background. It's not very pleasant. And we're going to try and avoid that at all costs. So we're going to chance it. We should have about another 30-35 minutes on the controller if we're not using it before it full dies on us, I think. So we are going to be very close to the checker flag, but if the sound cuts out, we'll plug it in and we'll just have to deal with the white noise. Just kidding, obviously. I know. So I know. It's really early in the morning for me. I mean, my brain has not woken up yet today. That is for sure. It's just kind of in robot mode, as I like to call it. Looks like we were going to see a positional battle there, but Mr. SBS is going to pull it into pit lane there for their scheduled pit stop, where the 764 Aston Martin made their stop a lap prior. So not going to see that battle happen there, unfortunately, and that time is going to be given up there now with that pit stop. So it'll put the gap back to about the 50-55 second mark where that lap is, where that gap was between those drivers. So now it's going to be where does Meti and the 45 GTR last minute racing team settle in with that pit stop from the 35 Loose Moose Racing Aston Martin here. As he comes around the start and finish line, he hasn't jumped Mr. SBS yet in position. He does now, but pit exit actually isn't up until we head towards turns number 1, 2, quote unquote. and is going to take over 5th place there. So the 45 car now moves back up into 5th place, and the gap between himself and the 764 car right now is 36 seconds. So we'll see if he can continue on that path of closing in the gap here as they continue on towards checkered flag here. Mr. SBS just coming out is about 17.5 seconds in behind the 45 car and has about a minute and a half to the good over the number 3 Grid Life car here, who has also made their scheduled pit stop now. They have 12.6 seconds over the 66 GT Finland Racing GTR. So these guys also suffered a disconnect earlier in the race here and have been digging in and trying to crawl back since. I believe that dropped them down to 11th place at that time, and they're now back up into 8th place here nearing the end of the race. So I've gained 3 positions since that fallback here as well. The number 5 car is currently sitting in 9th place here. What happened? Weren't they P3? So 6 hours ago, they had another disconnect, Ray Oak, and had to take that, of course, time penalty to get reinserted back into the next stint. So they're basically just recovering since that point again. So they had that happen in stint 2. They've spent the latter part of the mid part of the race getting back to where they were, and then suffered another disconnect, unfortunately, which set them way back down the grid again. And unfortunately for the number 5 car, I mean, they're just out of time at this point to dig in and crawl back. They're just doing everything they can at this point. I mean, they're still a lap behind the 66 GTR here in 8th place as well. So you can see that they're closing in on 8th place, but when they do close in on the 66 car, that will not be a battle for 8th place. That'll literally be a battle to get the lap back on the 66 car, essentially. So not an ideal ending for the number 5 car here, obviously, with the great comeback drive they were having here today, but racing is racing, and sometimes the racetrack decides how your day is going to go, unfortunately, and that's kind of the case here today at Le Mans for the number 5 team. Le Mans most certainly had different ideas for the championship points leaders today, without a question of a doubt. We all wish that wasn't a thing. Trust me, Oak. We all wish that wasn't a thing. Nobody likes to see drivers disconnected. That is 100% for sure. Just not a lot to report right now. I mean, the gaps are fairly significant between the drivers at this point. Nobody's in immediate striking distance of the other right now. Alright, camera time for the 77 black car. We haven't spent a lot of time on the 77 black car, RA black car here today. Obviously, they're just struggling a little bit in the latter part of the field here, but we'll sit here with them for a minute. Could be worse, and we had unfortunately we had the number 20 Aston Martin disconnect from 3rd place here in this stint. So I mean, a potential podium result taken away due to disconnect there from that team here as well in the final stint. So I mean, it's not something that's been just picking on one particular group of racers here today. The disconnection has most certainly not held prejudice, and has just absolutely massacred the hopes and dreams of a few teams here today, without a question of a doubt. So it's part of it, unfortunately. We're playing on a virtual platform, which means we're at the mercy of the internet. That's just the way it works. Gran Turismo or any other game, you always have the risk of being disconnected from a server or a lobby. It's just the way it is. We need a 24-hour Tsukuba. Yep, you would be. You're most certainly right. There would definitely be no lack of action at any point on the racetrack. Yeah, don't disagree with me for that. One bit on that. It doesn't want to show me win. There we go. .6 is the fastest lap of the session here, set by that number 5 car, and driven by Macho Monkey there as well. So that was a very, very fast lap, and if I'm not mistaken, that may be the fastest lap overall of the race as well now. So coming in and yanking that away here from the 45 crew, which did have that fastest lap of the race here in stint number 10. So times are continually still getting a little bit faster and faster before we get to the end of this race, so that's interesting as well. So we may see number 5 car try to navigate around the 66 GTR here shortly. Unfortunately, it's not going to be for that 8th place position. Again, it's going to be just to get the lap back from that 66 car, but it's still a pass nonetheless and a battle nonetheless. That is the new fast lap, yep, for sure. It's by less than a tenth of a second, if I'm not mistaken. See that half-second penalty. I just hate to see it. So, interesting strategy coming from the 5 cap here. It seems to me like they're taking a shot at the commentators challenge at this point. I think that they realize that the race is pretty much set in stone where they're at this point, so we're seeing some unscheduled stops coming from the number 5 car here, and they're coming out on fresh tires and low fuel essentially, so just trying to push that overall fast lap of the race here, I think, is what the plan was and the intention was here for Macho, and has done so. They have secured that fast lap of the race here. Not officially yet. There's still racers on track that can most certainly challenge that fast lap here before the end of the day here today, but definitely taking on a challenge of trying to get the fastest lap overall in the race and maybe potentially push that into a 53 range to make a said commentator shave his head bald live on stream before the next racing round. So it's an interesting development. We love that though. We love to see it when challenges get accepted like that. We see hard, legitimate pushes towards challenges. I know I could just be mistaken on that, but we've seen a couple of drivers really take a hard crack at that 53 here in the last 6 hours for sure. So whether or not they get it is different for me. If they get it, good on them. If they don't, heck of a good try. Because there's definitely been a couple of legitimate attempts to complete that 53 challenge here today by a couple of our drivers. So kudos to them. I mean, the fact that they can even get that close to doing it is just absolutely insane. There you go. So the fastest lap currently sitting there for Macho now. It does shrink up that points difference in the overall standing between the 44 and 5 car as this race commences here as well. So we're getting some good tidbit information here from our chat as always as well. For those that are already into the standings calculations at this point in the season and have a good handle on exactly where the point standings are at, are definitely relaying some good information for us here as well. I feel like this is just becoming a hot lapping session here now for Macho Monkey. This is essentially what this is turning into. Obviously, they're going to be monitoring the gap between them and the next position, but I think they've got a pretty good cushion there, so they've got time to mess around with this fast lap scenario here right now as well, and that's most certainly what they're up to. So they're not dumb. They realize that there's not a whole lot more for them to gain here today. So fastest lap point obviously being as important as it is, it definitely seems to be the goal and the focus for the number 5 car here for the remainder of the race here today. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, focusing on the fastest lap and bonus points can and have been proven time and time again, championship through championship, the bonus points can alter and make a massive difference in the overall point standings at the end of the season as well. So we all know that bonus points are massively important in any racing championship, and the people that hold the most bonus points at the end of the year, surprisingly enough, tend to be doing quite well at the end of the season. So bonus points are important without a question of doubt. Get the Clippers out, Cheese Bab says. Oh, they'll be ready, sunshine, don't worry. Yeah, that's what I figured too, Shadow. That's what I figured too. We're just in a nice, good hot lapping session here now from Monkey. No, I mean, the 45 car has a small potential to try and potentially grab another position here, but I think that the gap is just significant enough and the pace of Wid in behind the 764 car is good enough to hold off the charge of Medi here in the 45 car at this point. So I think that, barring anything basically dramatic or crazy happening at this point, I don't foresee a whole lot of changes happening in where the grid sits right now. That's just an honest opinion here from how this race has gone all day. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 35-40 minutes, I guess. And be more interested to hear what the drivers are going to have to say post-race here as well. you know, take our time. We're going to float through the field here as the race progresses on, and we'll probably go keep our eye on the number 5 car here and there as he continues his hot lapping session. See if you can get down there. See if you can get that lap time a little quicker here yet. Our number 3 red life car here is 6.4 seconds ahead of our 66 GT Finland car. So I take it back. We may potentially have a battle, actually. Before the end of this race here yet today between our 7th and 8th place drivers. Keeping a closer eye on this one. Alright, so definitely purple. That was about 2/10 purple here, so that puts him in about the 354 mid-range here right now. If he can get a nice, good, clean exit out of the final couple quarters here, looks like he gets a pretty good run. We're going to pick up a 1.5 second penalty there. It was 354.713, so it wasn't quite an improvement on that fastest lap. However, it was definitely purple coming into the final sector there as he came around the racetrack. So unfortunately, he picks up the 1.5 second penalty, and that's going to kill the push on this lap here as well for him. But I guess he can just dial it back a little bit, get those tires to maintain the optimal temperature he's looking for in them, and then just get ready to set it the next lap, essentially. Bruce is doing a great job. Slugsy, as we know and love him. The 69 AHR BMW here, as we have one of our viewers just happened to be talking about this particular driver and car. Happens to be where we are next in the grid, so let's have a little look-see here. Looking like it drove through a wall of paint cans at 120 miles per hour. Fantastic stuff. But definitely the flashiest car and most easily to recognize car out on the circuit here today, in my opinion. Back to our race leaders here, the 44 GTR HD Esports Race Asylum crew here is 25 seconds in the good over the number 1 Dodge Viper from ORT. Has opened the gap up just a small little bit on the second place driver here. Second place is opening the gap up a little bit over third place here, BX Royal, and the number 11 Project Platypus BMW. From there, that takes us to fourth place and the 764 Aston Martin from Sector 7 Boomer team. And they have 35 seconds to the good over the 45 last minute racing camp, which was our pole sitter to start things off here today. So currently sitting in 5th place overall in the field, a little over 23 hours in now, a lot more than 23 hours in. We're nearing the 24-hour mark at this point, and has 16 and a half seconds to Mr. SBS in the 35 Loose Moose Racing Aston Martin here as well, who they've been having a great race here today as well. Just reading a comment in the chat there. Appreciate the feedback as well. We've all felt the pain of that penalty, I assure you. I mean, it could be worse. I mean, which is the lesser of two evils, taking a 2 or 3 minute time penalty, get reinserted into the lineup and still have an opportunity to gain back and gain points, or just get the DQ and get 0 points at the end of the day. I mean, those are essentially the two options, right? Or a last place finish is ruling in some leagues. If you disconnect during a race, you just get placed in the last place finish. If you have multiple disconnects in a race, and obviously it goes in order if you disconnected first in comparison to where you finish in the grid. So I mean, it could be a lot worse. I think that the system in play for disconnect is fair. I really do think it's fair. Does it take the wind out of your sails as a group and a team in a race? Absolutely. And I mean, it feels worse. And I'm taking this and talking about this from sheer experience in Split 2. We have been there. We've disconnected from every race of the season with the exception of last weekend's race. It was the first race we finally had a disconnect-free race in our camp. But, I mean, we disconnected 23 and a half hours into a 24 hours of Nürburgring race this season. And with 30 minutes left, we disconnect from the race. I mean, we feel the pain, and we fully understand it. But at some point, you have to give and take somewhere. And I think that the procedure set in place for the disconnect system is that happy medium of the best case and worst case scenario. I think that it's fair, and I think it's a very just system. Does it suck? Oh, for sure it sucks, especially if you're the one on the receiving end of it, right? But at the end of the day, I think that it's a very balanced medium. I mean, there could be worse ways to handle the disconnect at the end of the day, I guess. So we've got obviously some teams focusing on much different missions than other teams here. We've got Evo just trying to get the car home first. Much of the same thing for the ORT camp, just trying to get that thing home for their best race finish of the season here so far this season. BX Royal and the Project Platypus Racing team, I think this will be their best racing finish of the season as well for them here, if they can hold on to this final podium position here today, and they're looking pretty solid to do so. The 764 camp here is, I feel like they've had a podium position finish this season, but I feel like maybe they've been in this position where they're just off of it before as well. So I think that they're right on the cusp of their best finish, or having their best finish of the season here as well in the 764 car. But they are being chased down by the 45 car. However, 35 seconds with not a whole lot of time left on the clock. I mean, we are on lap 27, just the beginning of it essentially. So we got a little less than 4 laps to go at this point here in the race. Zorian for ORT here in second place, very comfortable in his position right now on the racetrack. Much of the same thing for the Project Platypus BMW. Win C is in a comfortable spot here in 4th place as well. Much of the same thing goes for the 45 camp. Now it is a 17-second gap in behind, so it's not a massive gap in behind. It's definitely a small spin or a mistake or an unnecessary pit stop's going to see that position go to Mr. SBS if anything were to happen, but 17 seconds, still 17 seconds, 4 laps to go on the track here. Mr. SBS is looking pretty safe and comfortable in 6th place in my opinion. This number 3 Grid Life car really is the only driver right now, in my opinion, that is potentially at risk of losing one more spot here with the 66 GTR chasing from GT Finland Racers. So we're going to be kind of homing in, I think, on that gap of 6.5 seconds between Jake and Shadow and the 3 and 66 car. But over the last 15 minutes or so, that gap has been right around that 6 to 6.5 second mark. So hard to say what's going to happen there. Macho is on a final fresh set of tires here, it looks like, and going to continue to just press and ensure that they secure that overall fastest lap of the race here at this point. The only focus on their mind is exactly that. However, with that being said, though, now it's a 46-second gap to the 69 BMW, so they cannot afford any more pit stops here before the end of the race without potentially giving up an extra position away to the team AHR and 69 BMW. So I'm sure that they're aware of that situation, but with the gap distance now between Ted and Macho being about 47 seconds, it's about 50 seconds for a quick tire change, stop and go deal. It's cutting some pretty fine lines right there, probably not worth the risk. So I would assume that we're going to see Monkey just take this the rest of the way to make sure they at least secure that 9th place position here as well. Of course he's aiming for that 353. Why wouldn't he be aiming for that 353? Fully quite understand the last comment in the chat there. Obviously it's in a slightly different language, but we'll throw it over to the number 1 car since we know we've got some number 1 fans up in the chat there. I believe he's just congratulating the team on a good race. It's kind of what it looks like, but I am straight just guessing. Alright, let's walk through the grid. Continue to get closer and closer to the race's end here. I mean, it's looking very strong, like it's going to be the 44, the number 1 and number 11 cars standing on the steps here today, but anything can happen. We're not there yet. It's not over till it's over. Trying to figure out what I just saw there. My eyes saw, and my brain started telling me a story of what my eyes saw. But the brain wasn't telling me exactly what my eyes saw there, I don't think. 6.5 4-second gap between 66 and 3 these two cars is the number 3 car of BX Royal as well, so a little bit of an interesting situation there. Has improved that fast lap, now got it down to a 54.571. Piece of equipment here as we prepare towards the end of the race. So we are getting some information stating that if the race holds as it is right now, fast lap stays as it is, and there's no penalties to change the factors between the 44 and the number 5 car, it will be a 1-point separation in the favor of the number 5 car coming out of the 24 hours of Le Mans. Now that's just what the information is that we're getting in the chat. That doesn't necessarily mean exactly what it is. But lost my train of thought. That happens. Alright, Evo here in the lead. But I can't honestly say, confirm or deny that that is the actual case. That's where we're going with. So it could potentially be 1-point separation heading into round number 7 between the 44 and that number 5 car, which is interesting because that basically turns it into a 4-race championship between the two of them for the overall race win. Now we're not discounting the number 3 car by any stretch of the imagination either. They are a 3rd place point sitters here as well, coming into the race today, but currently sitting in 7th place. So a little bit of a mixture of placements for our top 3 in the championship point standings in comparison to where they are placed here in the 24 hours at Le Mans. It was a 54 low. I don't remember if it was 0.2 or 0.1, but it was quick. It was most certainly a very quick qualifying lap. Second track penalty there for the 45. Never ideal, but no harm, no foul, as he's not under any pressure at the moment, so not going to really change. It's indifferent at this point where he is on the racetrack for how that's going to affect the race. Jake in number 3 grid life car. I mean, this is right here really the closest thing we have to a potential change of position before the end of the race. And I mean, that gap is staying pretty constant around that 6-second mark between the GT Finland and the number 3 grid life cars. So I don't. There's still time. There's definitely still time for that to change, but as the race leader continues to go around here, he's starting lap number 30. I mean, we have 2 to go here in this 24-hour Le Mans, and that once the race leader finishes the race and takes that checker flag, there's only a 3-minute window for the drivers to continue on beyond that completion of the race for the race leader. And where those drivers are sitting at the end of that 3 minutes will be their results for an unofficial finish in this 24-hour race here today. So it looks like Evo's just gotten around the 764 car in a blue flag situation. Pilot which is tucked right in behind Evo there right now. Taking full advantage of some slipstream and a little extra speed. 45 car, 33 seconds in behind Wade here. Was making pretty good progressive gains, but now it just seems to have balanced out. So, I mean, like I said, the only chance of a potential, I think, positional battle here now before the end of the race is going to be between our 3 and 66 cars here in 7th and 8th place, and very quickly is the time running out for that battle to even happen here as well. So we'll sit on board with the race leader here for a minute. Maybe we'll go jump. Let's go jump here to the 66 car. Is chasing down Jakey here. He is definitely leading into that 6-second gap, I guess. So I'll sit here for a couple of minutes, see if we're going to see this develop, and then we'll go get back to our race leader here. Track limit penalty here for number 3 grid life car. Definitely not ideal. You've got a car closing, but it's not a 1-second difference between the 2 cars at least, so it's not code red panic time yet, but 5 seconds is going to turn quickly into 4 seconds. So I mean that's it's getting closer and closer, right? So I mean there's definitely some pressure starting to mount here right now. As the 66 continues to close in on the 3, but I think that's just not quite enough, unfortunately, for the 66 car here today to get that last spot. Final lap as the race leader crosses the start-finish line here, so 4 minutes to go, and we're going to start crowning our podium finishers here and our racers as they come across. So Evo is leading the charge here, and not many cars left on that lead lap here. We have 3 as Widsey is just off the lead lap at this point as Evo has just gotten around them here. So the 764 car just about able to hold off and keep on that lead lap here. And I mean, there still is possibility he can get back around the race leader before the lap ends here, but I suspect that that is not going to be the case. I don't think we're going to see that chance move from the 764 team. I think they're sitting behind the race leader here, and accept their 4th place finish probably with a smile on their face. I'm sure they're happy about that finish here today. The 45 car in 5th place. We've got the 35 car in 6th position here. We've got the number 3 car in 7th, 4.6 seconds now the gap between himself and Shadow. That's important because when the race leader crosses the start-finish line and that 3-minute final timer starts, you know, that gap could be closer. It could be a different scenario all of a sudden. So interesting to be seeing how that's going to play out because that is, like I said, the closest thing we have to a position changing at this point in the race now. Without officiating and all the things that happen post-race in the off-racing weeks, but that's a different story for a different day. And a half seconds separating Shadow and Jakey here. I just think that there's not quite enough time. Come on, red light, put the hammer down, says Shadow. So as Evo comes out of the Porsche curves here and heads into the Corvette S's, that now leads us up into the Ford chicane and our 24-hour of Le Mans race winner here. So congratulations to the number 44 car and Esports Race Asylum here with a 24-hour of Le Mans race win. Definitely a very well-earned race for them there. Wincy's going to come across and take 4th place there as well, right in behind the race leader. So our number 1 Dodge Viper Overboost Racing team here, having the best race of their season here so far this season, is going to settle into a nice 2nd place finish for themselves here today. And that was a great race. Good, clean, precise race here from the 44 camp and the number 1 camps here today. They didn't really look back all race long. The 44 car did suffer a disconnect and have to make some time back up to get into that 1st place position, but have certainly found their way there. The 45 car just crossing the start-finish line there as well, in 5th place. So starting from pole position, ended up strong in a 5th place overall finish there for themselves here today as well. So congratulations to them. We've got the 35 Loose Moose Racing Aston Martin coming across there in 6th place here as well, as we sit on with our final podium finisher here, and that is BX Royal from the Platypus Racing number 11 BMW team here. And we should probably keep an eye on this here quickly too. 4.5 seconds still to gap, so it looks like Jakey is going to hold off the charge of the Shadow here in the GT Finland Racing Camp. I guess we can go watch them cross the line here, as 3rd place is in a different part on the racetrack right now. second penalty here as he's going to cross start finish line. It's actually going to cost him 2 seconds of time to the driver in behind, but unfortunately for the 66 GTR, he's just not close enough to take advantage of that. There will take the 8th place finish. We got 69AHR BMW is going to take 10th place. Prima GTR in the 64 S7R Mercedes is going to take 11th place. Slugsy in the Race Asylum Black BMW 77 car will take 11th place. Macho will take 9th place and overall fastest lap of the racetrack here for Sector 7 Esports race team, which should just keep them a sliver in the lead in the championship point standings if what our chat has been telling us is in fact correct. Not saying that it's not, I just don't know exactly what the point spreads and everything are, so all I can do is take their word for it at this point, and we'll have to wait and see what the official results say in a couple of weeks' time. But we should, I think, have enough time here to see the Platypus Racing BMW cross the finish line here. It's going to be close, but should have enough time there to take the final wave of the checkered flag. He's the last car, I believe, on track at this point next to Macho, who's just in behind. So, and looks like not quite going to let him cross the start finish line there, unfortunately. But congratulations to ERA's Evo for the race victory there. And don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, as we are going to be having a conversation with some of our drivers here post-race as well. And we're just going to give them a moment, obviously, to get into the podium interview room, whichever representative it is from the teams that are going to be talking on behalf of our top 3 finishers here. So we will just wait for that to happen. But that also means I need this card to play nice. Congratulations to all of our teams, obviously, that took part here this racing weekend. Any 24-hour race is no simple feat, and it takes an absolute massive team, drivers, crew chiefs, volunteers, and behind the scenes just for the teams alone to make a 24-hour race event. But special thanks to the International Racing Organization, its staff, its volunteers, its production teams, and every other piece of the puzzle that makes these things happen race weekend to race weekend. 24-hour event is definitely no slouch and no joke. And the drivers that come and conquer these races have nothing but the utmost respect. They're not easy, they're grueling, and I mean, we do this just for the sake of doing it for a hobby and having fun and entertainment as well. So you cannot take that away from any one of the racers that were here, showed up, and put in the time today. So we're having a little issue here, so just bear with, ladies and gentlemen. My computer really is not liking what I'm making it do today. Yeah, I'm coming. I had to restart Discord. Just bear with me here for a moment. Interviewers, ease. My computer is Not being happy today. All right, we've got our race winners and our second place drivers in here now. So just give me one more moment here. We've got to do a little flick of some audios. We got to make a couple little tweaks and little touches here, and we'll go and touch base with our racers. So yeah, we should be good. Let's go ahead and start things off here with. There we go. Now it looks like I'm flashing, which means they should be able to hear me now. Congratulations and well done, first and foremost, to all the racers here today. Very tough, grueling 24-hour event out there, but we only can have 3 teams that stand on those higher steps at the end of the day. And congratulations to number 11 team, Project Platypus Racing BMW, for their third place finish. And of course, congratulations to our defending champions, number 1 Dodge Viper Overboost Racing Team, for their second place finish. And congratulations to the 44 team of Esports Race Asylum for the race win here today. It was a pretty dominant performance from the 44 cars and number 1 cars, in my opinion, but the 44 car has a small amount of adversity he had to face at one point in the race, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But let's move to our number 1 Dodge Viper team here, the Overboost Racing Team, and the car looking absolutely fantastic, looking like it was very well suited for the track here today. So first and foremost, congratulations on a very solid run here for you guys today. I know the season hasn't started off necessarily the way that you were probably hoping, but the car change is looking very solid, and Dodge Viper is looking very strong here in the second half of the season. So congratulations, and talk us through how you're feeling, and a little bit about how the 24 hours was for you guys here today.
Well, first of all, thank you for your words. And I'm feeling quite tired, to be honest, as I think most of the people here, the drivers and the organizers, will be after a fantastic 24 hours race. So, yes, for the team, the beginning of the season wasn't as we expected. We didn't perform as well as we did last year with the Lexus, but the change that we made to the car quite suited us for this Le Mans race, and the rhythm throughout all the stints was quite the same for all the drivers. We managed not to penalize so much, and I think it was a very good result for us, coming back to the podium, a strong second position in the race. Of course, the ERA guys were absolutely nuts with the car. The GTR was performing very well all throughout the race. They even got back from disconnect, and we all know what that does to the performance of the team as a whole. But they came back very strong. They won. Congrats to them and to the rest of the podium.
Absolutely, and very well said. And it was a bit of a bold pick, in my opinion. I think, to see somebody go to that Dodge Viper, of course. So, are you guys pretty satisfied with that choice? You think that you guys have made the right choice for the rest of the season with that Dodge Viper?
Well, it's always a bit of a gamble, but we didn't want to. Well, we tested the car. We thought that would perform well with all the drivers, and we'll just have to wait and see for the next rounds if we do perform as well as on this one. Of course, the 24-hour race is quite different from the others, because for us and for the experience we have, and I think it's for everyone else in the grid, it's most a matter of being patient and consistent. more than the single performance of the car. If you see, we had drivers like Medi today and Antonio doing crazy things with the times. But in a 24-hour race, what really matters is being consistent and trying not to penalize so much. And that's what he did. As for the next rounds, we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely, and just to touch base, we are heading to Watkins Glen next. This is going to be an 8-hour race here for obviously Split 1 and Split 2. Split 2 will, of course, head off things, and then Split 1 will take the big live stream the weekend after Split 2. So Watkins Glen is going to be much of a different feel and style of race. Obviously, being an 8-hour race, essentially this turns into a sprint race for us endurance racers when you get to the 8-hour factor. How do you feel that the car is going to handle at a track like Watkins Glen? It's a short, technical, but very high-speed circuit that's very heavy on tire wear. How do you think you yourself, the team, and the car are ready and feeling about the Watkins Glen race upcoming? And do you think that the Vipers should have good, solid pace there to potentially capitalize and continue on the momentum built from this 24-hour event here this weekend?
Yeah, we're hoping for a good result. The car is quite good on the bumps, and in Watkins Glen is something that we know it's quite important, especially for the last chicane. So the tire wear for this race wasn't that bad. I think that the car can do well also in Watkins Glen. It has a lot of power. Coming out of the corners, and hopefully we'll have to train a little bit harder in order to squeeze everything out of that car and perform as we are used to do.
Absolutely, and very well said, and a very well deserved congratulations for you guys coming in as defending champions here this year. You're carrying that very big honor of the one on the side of your car, and starting to show why that you guys were our 2024 IRO champions here as well. So congratulations on a great race. I believe this is the best race finish for Overboost Racing team here this season,
Yeah, it
and
is.
lots of momentum and lots to take back from this 24-hour event. So feed off that momentum and the great race. And it really was a textbook 24-hour event here from the number one team. So congratulations to you guys. And any final words, shout outs, any thank yous you'd like to throw out to your communities or your families before we move on to our race winners here?
Yeah, just thank you for your kind words and for the opportunity to speak a little bit more to the community. Shout out to the ORT drivers and all the team that are always behind us, and a very special word because I know all the trouble and all the work that goes into organizing these kind of venues. A big shout out and thank you to the organizers and IRO. Thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you for your time. I know it's been a very long day, and we're going to let you get back to that paddock and go celebrate with that great team effort there in that number one Dodge Viper.
Thank you very much. And congrats to the podium also. Bye bye. Thank you.
Also, all right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was ORT representative Vasilente coming from the number one Dodge Viper camp there to come and speak on behalf of Team ORT here today for their absolutely very textbook 24-hour race finish here. In my opinion, it was very clean, it was very precise, and it was very calculated, much like Vasilente said, and a very well-deserved P2 for them here in this 24-hour round 6 event. But that now takes us to our eventual race winners here. It was a pretty dominant performance here from the number 44 Esports Race Asylum team and car today. They've been showing fairly good pace and dominance throughout the season, but not quite enough to take that top spot in the championship point standings. But boy, today was a big one for the 44 camp, and we have Evo representing our Esports Race Asylum team here with us. So first and foremost, congratulations on a very strong performance in that GTR here today. For the most part, you guys led, I want to say, at least 90% of this race. If it wasn't for the exception of that disconnect in stint number 9 there, I think it would have just been a start to finish drive with this race here for you guys. But you faced that little bit of adversity, you buckled in, you dug in, you got your way back up into the lead, and you didn't look back. So congratulations, and talk us through how things went for you guys and how the race kind of, unfolded for you, and whatever it is that you want to add to that as well, Evo.
Yeah, well, I'll first start by following on from Valsalenta and saying congratulations, firstly to everyone who's obviously got to the checkered flag. Congratulations to the podium finishers. It's great to see ORT back up there, fighting at the top. It's really nice to have a familiar face from last year, and obviously 2 new podium sitters this season as well. So that's great. It just shows how competitive things are in IRO. And a big thank you to all the organisers, all the hosts, all the people who have third officialed, the streamers, and just everyone, all the drivers who have taken part and just helped us put on an amazing event this weekend and every single time we race in IRO. In terms of our race, it was we really wanted this one. Obviously, every race you want to win, and we're always pushed by that. But this one, for me personally, is my favourite race of the year. In my eyes, it's the biggest. I know some people will say Nürburgring, but for me, Le Mans is the darling of the calendar, and we really wanted to win this, and we knew the car was in a good place coming into it, and we'd come off of the back of some disappointing results, and while we'd been on the podium, we'd given a lot away in silly mistakes, and we weren't quite oiled as a team, since the first round of the season, and we really wanted to get back on the top step, and the number 5, the Sector 7 Esports, they've just been so hard to beat. With the strength and depth they have, and just the raw pace with the likes of Antonio and Monkey Man and Jay Marty. It's been so tough to stick with them, which just makes this all the more, more valuable of a win to us, because we've been able to, fight that off. And I know they've had a few problems in the race, but I think it was ours from the start, and we knew that we was in the hunt. And just awesome. With the disconnect, it was a bit of a heart in the mouth moment, but we'd been building that buffer in the event that something like that was going to happen, because you can just never be too sure. So we were building that buffer, and it helped, thankfully put us right behind, ORT. But that Viper was so hard to overtake. It was tricky because everywhere where the Viper was quick, we were slow, and where the Viper was slow, we were quick. We were always catching them in the corners, but it's tricky to make a move there without them just coming straight back at you. The pull that the Viper got was insane, so we had to work so hard for it. But yeah, everyone in the team is chuffed. They've all just done an absolutely amazing job. Driving, hosting, being up to third official. The team has not only put in a great performance on the track this weekend, but also off the track in helping organise this event. So super proud of the team. Perfect.
Absolutely. And I mean, that changes things dramatically here, the way that the race ended here today. Now, obviously, this is unofficial results, the way that the race finished here today. Our podium finishers are our podium finishers. They get all the glory as they deserve here. But we obviously have to go through that process of officiating and all the post-race bubble jumble that happens behind the scenes. So, I mean, there's still the question marks of potential penalties and time infractions and such like that from things that happen throughout the race. However, with that being said, the front end of the group, was pretty spaced out and didn't really have a whole lot of what I would call sticky situations that they had to navigate, which really I think put them in danger of that stewarding officiating that happens postseason. But now with everything that happened with the unfortunate day that the number 5 car had in Sector 7 Esports Racing, we know that puts that battle for the overall championship points within a handful of points between yourselves and that number 5 car, where coming in today that gap was much larger. So with 4 rounds of racing left, does that change your guys' view and mentality of what your goal for this season is, what your plan as you move through the season is? Or now does that change the way that you guys are going to be, say, preparing for the next 8-hour event at Watkins Glen? Is it going to potentially change the practice regiment and how you guys prepare, or is it business as usual and the goal still remains the same as you try to lock down this championship in the 2025 season?
For us, it's business as usual. We've just been taking every race as it comes. I think we made the mistake of winning the first race and then got complacent. You know, there were certain things that weren't matching up, and we've had to work quite a lot together as a team. So we've got loads of new faces this season that we didn't have last year. So we've had to work, really closely together to get this, well gelled and glued together. And since then, since the first couple of rounds, it's just been a case of taking every race as it comes, and whatever happens, and we'll move on from that and just hope to do better for the next round. And that just stays the same. We're right there, provisionally in the championship. We didn't expect to. If you told me that we'd be where we are provisionally now after Monza, I probably would have smacked you and said, stop talking nonsense. But it's happened, and we're now back in that fight, I think. But we just have to take every race as it comes, not get too ahead of ourselves, and just not make the same mistakes we did at the start of the season in getting complacent. We still have to put in the same amount of work. I always go into every event thinking, whatever lap time I'm doing, they're going to be quicker. So I just need to keep practicing and practicing. So maybe have a few days off and just get straight back to it, because there's no time to really rest. There's no time to drop the ball. And they're a very motivated and strung on group of drivers, so I know that they won't be kicking about relaxing. They'll be straight back on it as well, and we have to do the same. There's a lot of challenge coming from behind as well, especially in the shorter races, from Project One and the Project Platypus team, ORT now as well. I don't think going forward it's going to be a 2-horse race. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to get mixed in and have something to say about it. And we just have to make sure that if they're going to take points off of people, that it's not us.
Absolutely. You kind of pre-answered my final question that I was going to direct towards you in a sense. Outside of the number 5 team, I was just going to ask if what other teams right now are really sitting on the back of the number 44 car's mind, and you pretty much just covered that. And it's glad to hear that the number 1 came into that discussion, because they've definitely replaced themselves in the discussion for potential contenders here in the 2025 season, especially with the Monza result, and now this really great result here coming from Le Mans as well. But with that being said, you guys were close last season. You were fighting the whole way through to take that overall championship away from that number 1 car this season, and you're right back in that position again here this season. So I guess, you're kind of looking at that same situation where you're there, you have a chance at it. Now, I guess the bigger question is, do you change the way that you approach it compared to last season, or do you still approach it the same way? Business as usual, so to speak, again?
Well, we started last season on the back foot because we immediately had to make a car change, and so we had the Corvette and we had it when it was strong, and then the car went away from us. With BOP updates, there was a massive physics update that completely changed the way the car handled. So basically, from after Le Mans last season, all of those rounds were just damage limitation. We were always on the back foot. We just didn't have the car to fight. And it was heartbreaking for all of us to, lose it on the last race. That was a really tough pill to swallow after leading the championship all year. I think, there is a bit of a different mentality, because we are now chasing rather than being chased. And I think it's always an advantage when, you're the one following someone else, because we have nothing to lose at this point, I think. Whereas they're the ones who have had the lead. They're the ones that have had this dominance in the last 4 or 5 races. And now we kind of get to change things up and say, well, we're going to put our front foot forward and let's see how you react to us. There's always a big mental battle with that. So I think being being the chasers is going to be, quite exciting rather than being the ones chased from last season. I hope it goes down to the wire again. I hope it stays close in terms of for the viewership and for the people watching. For us, I hope it goes in our way and it's a little bit simpler. But I know it's not going to be easy. We're all aware that it's going to be really, really hard. But all we can do is just give our best every single race, and if we come short, then we come short. I'm still going to be really proud of everyone in the team. But yeah, we're going to give it our best shot.
Absolutely, and I mean, very well said. Much like Vasilenta from the ORT representative there as well. Very well spoken here in the interviews today, and I don't think I could have honestly said it any better. I mean, we have to make adjustments and adaptations as our seasons progress, and you guys had a big hill to climb, and all of a sudden you're standing at the top of the hill looking over into the distance, and you can see everything that's up and coming. So you guys are in a great position at this point here, with that 44 GTR, and we have 4 rounds to see if we can make it happen at this point. So the mindsets are obviously in the right place, and the team is very focused, and that is obviously an important annotation for a potential championship to be brewed up, and the 44 car is definitely looking for that championship. So with all those great things being said, I'll give you the floor for any final remarks, and of course shout outs, thank yous to family, friends, sponsors, any support, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, just a big thank you to the whole of the IRO community. This season has just been a whirlwind. With the growth, the level of drivers that have come in, it's been an honour as a member of the staff to see how much it's grown. And we've had some growing pains. We've had some challenges, but they are great challenges to have. Dealing with such a demand for people to drive is something that we're very happy to have that problem. So just a big thank you to everyone in the community. A specific thanks, obviously, to the team for the amazing result today, and just for their hard work all season. Even the guys who didn't drive today have been practicing every day to keep us on our toes, and also just to be there in case someone had any issues and couldn't drive a stint. For me, they're the real champions. They're the real winners today because they've sacrificed a lot of time, not necessarily got to drive, but they're every bit as important to this win, today as the rest of us were. A big thank you to all the staff, everyone who's hosted, everyone who's been a part of the third official in, all the commentators. These 24-hour races are so exhausting, but everyone pushes through with such an amazing spirit. And from myself, Nick, Ray, Splurge, all of us who kind of steer the boat, we're just so grateful for everyone who's involved and puts in such an effort to make this happen. And just raise a toast to the future, to IRO, to keep growing and to keep becoming more and more of a spectacle. And on to the next one.
On to the next one, and the next one being, ladies and gentlemen that are sitting here still hanging out with us, listening to our great finishers talk, is going to be Watkins Glen, and it's going to be an 8-hour event. So this is going to be a very high speed, very high intense, very high risk style of race. We're four championship rounds away from crowning an overall champion in our 2025 season. Means within the next 3.5 months to 4 months, we are going to have that champion in Split 1 and Split 2 in the 44 car. After a very dominant performance here in that GTR today, has definitely put their hat in the ring for the discussion of potential season champion here. So great job today. Congratulations, of course, to the number one finishers here today, the 44 Esports Race Asylum GTR, piloted by several great talented racers there. And it was a great word said there by Evo. This is a team effort. It is not solely done and won by one individual in this style of racing. This is done by potentially dozens of members of each competing team. We've got 2 splits, which means we've got 28 registered teams, and each of those teams has a minimum of 5 drivers for sure on their roster. You got to think of the logistics that it requires to pull off 24-hour race, 12 driver stints, hundreds of racing miles, thousands of racing liters of racing fuel, and just hours and hours of stress and relentless mental terror on the racers behind the wheel of the cars, right down to the crew chiefs having to make the tough decisions and behind the scenes. Le Mans never disappoints. It was an up and down race. Stories were not finished right up until the end of the race here, and great battles throughout the whole race. So the final word is another great 24-hour Le Mans event here coming from the International Racing Organization. And we would like to thank every one of you, the viewers, coming in from at home, at work, or wherever it is that you have tuned in from or still are tuning in from here, and have taken the time to come and show us support during our 24-hour event. It means a ton to the organization. It also means a lot to the racers. That gives the racers the desire, the fire to continue to fight hard, work harder, and continue to try and produce closer, tighter, more action-packed races over these long-distance events. And it's all for you guys and gals at home, the heart and soul of IRO. You are the reason why we continue to do what we do, and we would not have such a great league and organization if it wasn't for all the amazing support outside of the organization right here on the YouTube channel. We appreciate each and every one of the viewers. Most importantly, whether you're old, young, male, female, or even a pet to the family, you're still a part of the family, and racing is racing. So we appreciate everybody's support, and thank you so much for being here today. With that being said, this concludes our 24-hour of Le Mans here from the International Racing Organization. Thank you for hanging out with me. I was the host for the final couple hours here at GT45 Gaming, and I most certainly look forward to seeing each and every one of you at the very high intense action-packed Watkins Glen in a few weeks' time. Remember, you all matter. Family is the most important thing in life. And stay winning, and we'll catch you all on the next one.